Hello and welcome to The Valley. Today I am your host, Janet Michael. It is Public Safety Thursday live in the studio. That's as good a radio voice as I get. Do you want to do live from Front Royal?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the big show. I do miss those days. I do.
Captain Warren Gosnell from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office. I know that you do because we talk about that a lot before we come in here to sit down to do the show. You are always regaling Kathy and I with stories of
Janet,
back in the day.
Let me just tell you why, though. Because you don't realize till it's gone. That's the saying. Those radio shows.
That's a song, too, from the 80s, right?
The things I used to be able to do and say. And people would just, that's funny. Whereas if I say it now, it's like, that's concerning. It's a great outlet. That's what I miss is the outlet. Because when you're dealing with serious topics and serious people, day after day after day, there's just comes that time where you want to be like, hey, let's have a little fun. And you know, so I miss that outlet. That's what I really miss. Do I miss getting up at 3:20 in the morning to be here and on the air at 5 a.m.?
No, thank you.
Not really. There were a couple of mornings that we weren't right on the air at 5 a.m. You know, there's the dead air, the nightmare that all radio announcers have. There are other things about this job I do not miss. But yeah, it's a great outlet. And so I miss that portion of it. And when I come here and Kathy starts telling tales of the station, I'm like, yep.
Been there, done that.
I remember that. So,
well, I'm glad that I can bring that back to you.
Always. How many years are we in now?
May 16th will be 10 years. Today's show is 2,610 consecutive episodes,
right,
of which you've had at least one a month. So that's a lot.
I think I have to be the number one guest, don't I? As far as frequency.
Probably so. The most consistent.
Yeah, and longevity.
Yep.
So
because other guests have been on every month. Sometimes they have to switch their day or that sort of stuff. But you are, and we've only done that with you maybe once or twice.
Well, I now have an app on my phone. You can see it there at the bottom. That's a picture of me with my feet up on a desk, and it's not my desk. And this is a countdown clock, but it actually is counting up. This is how many days it's been since I was eligible to retire. And today is the 869th day, 11 hours and 14 minutes right, since I was eligible to retire.
I'm counting up to episode 2,633.
All right.
Because then I will break Cal Ripken's record for most consecutive games played. And then I may hang up the headphones.
What a sad day that will be.
Right? People will cry. They will line the streets.
Some cry, some dance. I mean, it's going to be the same.
Very fine line.
There are people out there right now that go 868 days. They got their foot pushing me out the door. Like, hey, see ya. But, yeah.
And I'm sure some of them are probably those people that have been getting actual tickets in the mail now from the school zone traffic cameras. Although you were telling me beforehand, some people are like, yeah, sorry, that was me, and it's not going to happen again.
The people that we have talked to that have called in with questions after receiving a violation have all been polite. They've been understanding. They've had their questions answered and realize that one of the things is they want to make sure it's on the up and up, because someone says Frederick County Sheriff's Office, but it's got a Chattanooga, Tennessee address for the remittance of the violation, the penalties.
Which is really good considering the number of scams. We've talked a lot about scams over the last several months, and so it's good that people are paying more attention and are checking before they just send money somewhere.
Well, and it's one of those things where when people look and say, well, how do they not know that? We've been advertising for 30 days during the warning period. I'm like, well, not everybody is on the Sheriff's Office social media page. Right. Not everybody reads XYZ paper or listens to the River 95.3. And so there are people that won't have any knowledge of it other than the sign that says photo enforcement ahead and then the flashing lights that say school zone speed limit and that. But, you know.
Well, and there are probably people that may not travel that wherever they are on a regular basis. They could be from out of town well. And it could be that they just don't know.
That's why we put the signs in the standard English context. So that, don't
say stuff like that when I'm taking a drink of coffee.
It reads the same in Virginia as it would in West Virginia, as it would in New York or whatever state. The letters are the same shape and sizes and in the same order that make words that should be readable. So I love it when someone tells me, I'm sorry, I'm not from around here, and they're being stopped for failing to stop at a stop sign because
they're kind of the same everywhere.
In the United States, VDOT, WVDOT, NDOT, whatever dot of any state, their stop signs are all same shape, white outline, red background, white letters.
Some of them even flash now.
Yeah. And so I love it when they say, I'm sorry, I'm not from around here. And you catch yourself wanting to say, are the stop signs different where you're from?
This is where the radio guy tries to get out.
And this is where, you've got the angel on one shoulder going, be professional, WG. And you got the other guy going, say it. But yeah, so, and I don't want to make light of people who are now getting violations in the school zones. But I will tell you, because you asked, during the warning period, I had told you we had a few vehicles that we noticed were coming through several times. Mm-hmm. And what had happened was those first few days of the warnings, they were coming in. One guy came in every day, same time every day. Well, he hadn't got his first warning yet because it has to be processed, has to be verified by us, has to be sent back, mailed, all that. And so this one person in particular that I just seemed to be the one that kept getting him, he had 4 in a row. And now he hasn't had, and I'm going to knock on wood, he hasn't had any since. So hopefully that worked. He got those warnings. Yes. And so we've got people now who are actually getting violations. And I've noticed a couple that are multiple because, again, we started on the 17th. And so if you came through on the 17th and then again the 19th, you haven't even gotten the violation for the 17th yet.
Right.
But you're a local and you're traveling this way every day. Where were you during the warning period? And the signs are posted, and the lights are. I mean, we've checked everything. We had one day, and I'll tell you, Stonewall Elementary on Route 11 is a 25-mile-an-hour school zone. It's a normal 45-mile-an-hour, 2-lane Route 11. Okay.
No median, the whole 9 yards.
There is a center turn lane, but it's not divided or anything like that. And so that's the slowest school zone of the 3 that we currently have under the camera system. That's the slowest one. But it's also 45 mile an hour, so you're not slowing down from 55 to 25. So on this one day, we got a batch of violations from the vendor in Chattanooga, and we started checking them. Well, the first thing that was noticed was, the lights are flashing. The sign in between the lights that says school zone speed limit 25 was gone. This was the day after that horrific windstorm that came through. And so we called Chattanooga and said, hey, slight problem here. And so the term is called spoiled. We spoiled all those and told them, disregard all of those until the sign is actually there. Even though it's a known zone, no.
The lights were flashing.
If everything is not present, if everything is not there that needs to be there, the benefit of the doubt is going to go to the motorist every time. And so once the sign was put back up, then we started up again. Now, of course, there was a miscommunication when they shut down that school zone for us for violations. They shut down the other 2, meaning they stopped processing. The school zone stayed active. The system kept working, but they stopped processing, waiting for the green light. And so during that
then there was a
day and a half, 2 days when I'm calling going, hey, what's going on? We're not getting anything. Someone realized, and so now we had to play catch up. And so you ended up with 1,500 violations between the 3 zones to then approve. The other thing I want to point out again, and then we'll get off this topic, The other thing I want to point out is, as you and I have talked about before, and in case anybody missed it, this is not an AI-generated system.
Right. I asked you before if you were the only person here that was looking at those, and you said no.
No, there are three of us. There are three of us right now who are authorized deputies within the sheriff's office to check these packages and verify that everything is correct and authorize the violation to be issued. And we have caught a couple that were like, okay, this tag is transposed. This vehicle doesn't match what it's supposed to be, and those get voided. I'm not going to split hairs, play games. Let's rerun this. Let's double check. Nope, it's not right. Kick it.
You're not like checking them for stolen plates to make sure this isn't a murderer trying to make his escape, and you could be on a Dateline episode.
Well,
at some point?
when you run the tag, that would automatically pop up.
Okay, whatever.
But all the data is entered by human.
Right.
So there is a chance that
numbers get
a mistake
transposed.
could be made.
Yes.
And so when it comes to us, we hope we eliminate that mistake. If something were to get by Chattanooga and by us here in Frederick County, but is still clearly a mistake, then it'll be taken care of and voided. There won't be any question. The only thing that we've had happen out of so far, with warnings included, we had about 18,000 warnings and violations in the 45, 50 days since we flipped the switch. So far, the only thing that has happened, one tag, the last two numbers of the tag got switched from a 3.6 to a 6.3, and both vehicles, when you run those two tags, are on gray Fords. And so the only thing was that gentleman brought his registration in and said, this is my tag, and in the photo, yep, that's a gray Ford Bronco, but I'm a gray Ford F-250. And so it was handled. So are there flukes? Are there chances? Yes. But other than that, this is not AI generated. This is being handled by humans, handled multiple times, multiple eyes. And so we're given the benefit of the doubt to any driver, but the system is working the way it's supposed to work. And hopefully, as I told you about those frequent flyers during the warning period, the people that are now getting violations are also now, okay, taking my medicine, and when I get to the school zone, I'm taking my foot off the gas.
I'm going to slow down. I'm going to do what is supposed to be done.
And remember, we start at 10 miles an hour. So if you're 9 or less,
you've still got a pretty big cushion.
You're still speeding. Let me be clear. I'm not telling you go 9, 8, 7, 6. I'm not telling you go over the school zone limit at all. What I'm saying to you is, if you're not at that 10 or more, you're getting a free pass every day that you're at 8 over. And so that's all we're really asking is slow down, because we have people that are 15, 20, 25 miles an hour above the school zone speed limit. So it's going well. It has been busy work. And I can tell you in one day, 504 violations I scanned with my eyeballs on the computer, while my other two, my lieutenant and my sergeant, were also. This is when we were playing the catch-up, and so.
I need a picture of you doing that with granny glasses on, just for my own personal photo bank.
I do need them. So, my vanity, there are certain things I am vain about. My hair, the fact that I have to wear glasses at my age now, and I only have to wear it for a computer or a cell phone screen, I'm okay with that, because I can still read your dead inspection sticker at 100 yards away at 60 miles an hour. So
well, my inspection's good till October. My tags, that's a whole nother story, but I got all of this month to get my tags fixed. They will be fixed by the time I see you in May.
They better be, I guess.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we want to talk a little bit about police interactions. Can we do that in the next segment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're going to do all of that. It is Public Safety Thursday. We are live in the studio today with Captain Warren Gosnell from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office, and we're going to be back in just a couple of minutes.
This Saturday, Henry Mueller will change the world. He has no idea that's what he's going to do. He only knows that he went to justserve.org and signed up to spend time at a senior center Saturday morning. As he browsed through service opportunities in his own community, he remembered the words of Paul to the Galatians, "By love serve one another." Little does Henry know that Saturday morning he'll end up speaking to one senior in particular who hasn't seen his family in several weeks and is feeling especially lonely. Henry doesn't know the short time he'll spend with this man will lift his spirits, cheer his heart, and make his life just a little better. Through love and service this Saturday, Henry Mueller will change the world. See the difference you can make. Sign up for service opportunities in your community. Visit justserve.org.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. It is Public Safety Thursday, live in the studio with Captain Warren Gosnell from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office.
Janet's new motto.
I gotta
if
hit
it doesn't
harder.
work, just smack it harder.
Smack it harder. I gotta hit it harder.
Yeah.
That's what happens. You gotta hit the space bar to start the music, and it looked at me like, you didn't. Yeah, so I had to smack it. And
we need a new keyboard now, by the way, Lonnie.
Yeah, that's fine. I only need to use it one more time for our outro music, and then we'll be good. So, hey, when we went to break, I said when we came back, we were going to talk about police interactions. What does that mean exactly?
You and I talked before we went on the air, and one of the troublesome trends I noticed online, and let me first preface this by saying, the internet and social media can be great tools, great resources. But in other ways, it's the bane of some of our existence.
And that, quite honestly, happens more often than the first.
We have undercut so many aspects of society with the approach that you now see and read on some of these social media platforms, in my opinion. People who can post anonymously or take a little cute nickname and just they don't bring anything constructive or anything useful to some of these conversations. It seems it's only there to cause division
and drama,
and to stir things up. And so the first thing I want to say is, I'm on social media, obviously, and I'm on it with the sheriff's office. I'm on it with myself. I'm on it with my traffic page. And so I'm not being hypocritical here and saying social media bad. What I'm saying is one of the trends that I noticed, though, is it not just with law enforcement and public safety, but with many things. Even with the launch yesterday, there were people who were in the comments making snide remarks to the fact of they're not going to the moon, they're just flying around it. And it's just like, okay, to fly around the moon, I believe that you have to go to the moon. Now, do you have to stop on the moon? No one said they're going to walk on the moon. They just said they're going to. This is the type of, and of course, that comment then generates a bunch of reactions. And so I'm like, okay, this person is doing this because they want to gear up the algorithm. They want to, it's so ridiculous. But we come to the public safety aspect of things. We are at a point in time right now where the only word I can think of in some situations is volatile.
Right.
We have, and I do not want to get into politics, and I will not. This is not a politically motivated statement or topic. This is simply a matter of perspective and fact, again, in my opinion, that we have such a volatile situation across the country right now. And the things that get highlighted, the things that a lot of the media picks up on, a lot of the things that are being shared on social media, a lot of the things that are being commented about have to do with interactions with law enforcement, with enforcing rules. Whether or not a person agrees, and this has been a thing you and I have talked about for years, if you don't agree with a law in your home state, then your argument is not with those who are sworn to uphold the law. Your argument is with those in the capital of whichever state you're in who are creating and thus voting on and eventually a governor signing into law that which you disagree with. That's where your problem lies. It's not with the people who are out here who are now told, hey, you've sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution and to enforce the laws of the Code of Virginia. And so we don't pick and choose which laws we can enforce either, because we are supposed to be impartial.
Right.
Doesn't mean we don't have an opinion. Doesn't mean that my opinion doesn't line up with yours over here on this side, or necessarily these over here on this other side. It means that I'm supposed to be impartial. And so when I see a violation, or a violation is reported to me, I have a duty, a responsibility to act upon that. And if the facts are clear that, yes, there was a violation, some laws allow me to exercise discretion. You're speeding. Okay, we'll talk about a traffic infraction. You're speeding and you're 83 miles an hour in a 60-mile-an-hour zone. Under Virginia law, you could be charged with reckless driving because you're more than 20 miles an hour over a posted speed limit. Reckless driving is a Class 1 misdemeanor. That is a criminal offense. I can charge you with that. With my discretion, I can also charge you at 83 and a 60 as speeding at 23 miles an hour over the speed limit. And so now it's a traffic infraction. You're still 23 over. That's still what you may be convicted of. But instead of a Class 1 misdemeanor and a criminal charge, you're looking at a traffic infraction. With that discretion, I could say, okay, I'm going to reduce your speed down to 79 in a 60 so that you're 19 over the limit and write you speeding, so there's no risk of the Class 1 misdemeanor. Janet, there are people who have argued before, very few, but there are people who have argued before, come to court and said, well, I'm not guilty because I wasn't doing 79 in a 60. I was doing 83 in a 60, and he changed it.
And those are the people making these comments on Facebook.
Well, my point being, you exercise discretion, and someone now wants to say, well, you're not allowed to do that. Yeah, well, yes, I am. Under that. There are other laws in the Code of Virginia that use words like shall. Mm-hmm. If I find this to be the case, then I shall, well, the code says you shall, an officer shall arrest. An officer shall charge, whatever the case may be. In those instances, the law enforcement officer doesn't have a choice. A person who drives without a license and is charged for that under 46.2.300, that's the code section. 46.2 is motor vehicle code in Virginia. So if you see anything with 46.2 in the front of it, that's generally a traffic-related charge. There are a couple that are criminal. 18.2-266 is DUI, driving under the influence. So while it's still driving related, it goes under the criminal code. So 46.2.300, the Code of Virginia says if it's a second or subsequent offense, the law enforcement officer shall impound the vehicle for 3 days or until the person obtains their license, whichever happens first. Now, person driving is not the registered owner. So now I've deprived the registered owner of their car. There are a couple of questions we ask there. Number one, why are you letting an unlicensed person drive your vehicle? And if you say you didn't know they weren't licensed, then how well do you know those people that you're loaning your vehicle? There are all kinds of things you could go with that. But the registered owner has an option to petition the court to get the vehicle back. So there are remedies in place. But my point being, there are times where I don't have a choice. I don't get to pick the law.
There's no room for discretion.
Correct. I don't get to pick the law that I enforce, and I don't get to pick necessarily how it needs to be enforced or how I'm required to enforce it. And there are even laws now that say if an officer fails to do this, or if he does not do this, you can act as an officer and be sanctioned if it's against code, or you can fail to act as an officer and be sanctioned. Oh. Some of them include up to being decertified.
Wow.
So when people think, don't you have anything better to do? Why are you doing this to me? The one thing we seem to forget is that we're here, whether it's a traffic stop, whether we're investigating a shoplifting, an assault, trespassing, whatever the case may be, we, the group of us, the officer, the suspect, the victim, if there is one, we're all here based on someone's actions, and it's not the action of the law enforcement officer. So when we get to the part of the interaction with law enforcement, the things that some of these videos and these comments and these stories they don't show is what led up to this interaction.
Right.
What led up to the fact of someone is now being pulled from their vehicle. What led up to someone is now in handcuffs for what would have been a minor traffic infraction. What are your rights? I know my rights. I don't have to get out of the car. I don't have to give you my license. Folks, there are laws in other states that give those kind of liberties, for lack of a better word, to a motorist where you don't have to do this, this, and this if this, and this isn't met. I can tell you under the Code of Virginia, if you are requested, especially after driving upon the public highway, if you're requested by a person that you know or should know by the presence of a uniform, badge of authority, and everything else that tells you this is a law enforcement officer, if they request those credentials, you are required to provide them. So when you say, hey, I know my rights, because you watched a video where a person just put it up against the window or wouldn't give it at all, and you're like, hey, I've seen this before, I know my rights. Check and see where these things were generated. You might also want to Google and say, hey, what was the outcome of this stop in 2024 with so-and-so? And it may tell you that eventually they were found guilty or whatever.
Or it will tell you it was AI generated or any number of things that it never happened in the first place.
But if you're going to act upon your rights, make sure they actually are one of your rights granted you under the Constitution. And realize that in most cases, law enforcement today is doing everything they can, not only to protect and serve, but also to make sure that they're doing it the right way. Mm-hmm. Body cams, dash cams, ring cameras on front porches where you're having an interaction, business surveillance videos. Everyone's watching everybody.
We have flocking cameras in Middletown now.
Well, and my thing being, we'll come back to that.
Well, you only got 2 minutes, so you better do it quick.
Here's the thing with the interaction with law enforcement that I want to make sure we touch on. Just because you think a law enforcement officer should be able to hold their own against another human being, just because I'm 6'3" and can bench press you, doesn't mean that you couldn't do something and seriously hurt or kill me.
Right.
If I were to relax and be like, this little girl, she's not going to do anything to me. And the other is true the other way. If you want to say, well, you should have to be a certain size or a certain attitude or a certain ability to be a law enforcement officer, here's what I'm going to say. You should be obeying the law.
Right.
And so, again, we come to these situations because someone is breaking the law. And so that person that is causing the situation at that point in time shouldn't be allowed a free pass. Well, they could have shot the gun out of his hand. Or why didn't they tase him? He only had a knife. All these other things that people sit and they watch and they slow down videos and they go through them a frame at a time and all. Ladies and gentlemen, no one wants to see anybody hurt or lose their life in any type of altercation, even with law enforcement or road rage incident or a domestic situation go bad. No one wants to see any of that. But at some point in time, folks need to realize, one, what are your true rights? No one has the rights to put their hands on you unjustifiably. A law enforcement officer who tells you, gives you a directive, and it's a lawful directive, and you don't obey it, him or her putting their hands on you at that time is justifiable.
It's justifiable.
And so the way we avoid that is you follow the directive, get everything done, and if at the end you think you were mistreated or that actions were taken that shouldn't have been taken, you have recourse. You have the court system if you ended up charged with anything. You have a chain of command for the agency that this person works for if you weren't charged, but you think that they weren't doing their job properly. You have your own platform if you want to say, here's what happened to me today. What do you people think? Just make sure it's factual, what you put in there. And you have FOIA. Request copies of the body cams, the reports, the dash cams. Take a look at things first. Just don't stand there at the point in time stating you know your rights. If you're not,
Yeah.
Don't let it escalate.
We all have a responsibility.
And we're going to do our best to de-escalate it. But the bottom line is, as I said before, there are certain instances you may not be aware of. Here's what the code says. Here's what I'm required to do. I need to do it. Let's work together.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Be safe out there.
I'll do my best.
From all the keyboard warriors.
I'm going to go wrestle a bear.
Wrestle a bear. I will be back tomorrow with photos of that just a few minutes after noon.